It must be the coffee running through.
Okay. They say that humanity runs on three things: hope, curiosity, and an ungodly amount of caffeine. Welcome back to Gandy Slays, the show where we provide the every living human being is an expert in something. We've spent the last few weeks talking about the ghost in the machine, the paradox of choice, but today we're talking about the fuels that allow us to have those deep thoughts in the first place. Most of us treat coffee like a utility, a bitter liquid we pour into our faces so we don't get tired before noon. But my guest today sees it differently. He doesn't just drink caffeine, or maybe not anymore. He understands the chemistry, the craft, and the profound way this molecule interacts with the biological machine we call our body. He's a true connoisseur of the bean and an expert on the psychology impact of caffeine. Welcome, my guest, Stephen Frazier. Stephen, I have to ask you right out of the gate. Are we all just caffeine-powered ghosts pretending to be functional, or is there an actual way to do this right?
I think that 85% of the people in the United States are caffeine-powered ghosts. And realize that's a lot of people. That's 200 to 300 million people just in the United States.
Wow.
You know, it's
Yeah.
estimated possibly 4 billion across the world. And it's $1 trillion business, and it is artificial, and it's a drug, and it is socially accepted and often socially promoted. And we are up. This is a challenging task that I have taken on. I was on a podcast recently, and I used an analogy of that talking about caffeine was like I felt like a salmon swimming upstream to spawn. I mean, everybody's seen this, right? You know,
Yeah.
and the host stopped me, and he chuckled and he said, "No, Steve, you are like a salmon swimming against a tsunami." And you know, one of the things that I think our biggest challenge, and this is not just about caffeine, but in life in general, is that when we are presented with objective truths that go against our long-held beliefs, and that's a lot of that's been programmed into us over time from birth, literally.
Yeah.
That is called cognitive dissonance. And we have a lot of that in society in general, and in particular with caffeine, because caffeine has been kind of pushed occasionally as being healthy.
Yeah, it has.
And good for you, and then if they don't go that far, they say, well, there's no negative side effects. Okay, and these are mostly just lies. Now maybe they're white lies. I don't want to call anybody a liar. You know, I'm not
That's what they are.
Right. Okay. I'm pro health and pro knowledge. And so, you know, if I say something, most of this, actually probably 95 to 98% of this is not my opinion. These are just facts. You know, I wrote a book. It's called Release the Coffee Cuffs. I've got over 300 references and citations. I've done a lot of research. But perhaps my best qualification to talk about this is I have been a 2-time chronic caffeine user and abuser.
Wow.
The first one was 30 years I was on, and that ended in the emergency room as I was on the table watching my EKG machine next to me go up and down because I had something called premature ventricular contractions.
Yeah.
And I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Doctor, no, it's very disconcerting, just so you know.
Yeah.
And the doctor came in, and I said, first thing he says is, you're not going to die. You're okay. You're okay. Well, that's great. Yeah. Oh, I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
Said, so what's causing this? And he said, well, stress. And then he chuckled a little bit, and he said, and caffeine. And I had been caffeine loading that morning. I was traveling. I was going to work. I was going to drive 3 hours, work for 6 hours on my feet, and then drive 3 hours home.
Well, you need
so
that.
What I would do is I would drink coffee all morning. When I get to my first, and I was demoing food that my wife created, a pasta, and we may or may not get into that. But so I was driving, about 3 hours, And so I would drink coffee on the way there. I'd get there. First thing I would do is have a latte. Then I'd have at least one energy drink while I was doing the demos,
Oh man, how do you handle
sometimes
those?
two, and then I would drive home. And that's how I got where I was. Okay, not paying any attention to the effects on my body. And there are many. We're going to talk about some of them because it's important that people know. When I do presentations, I start out is, do you know somebody? And as we talk today, anybody that's listening to this, if you know somebody that has any of these symptoms, it would be really nice to share this with them. And I sent you some information which you can put in the show notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the bio.
Yep, and there are links in there that can help people evaluate where they stand with caffeine, and then also some of the nasty things that caffeine does to you. And then there's a chart in there that's really interesting. It's got 1,000 beverages in the United States and Canada, and it's got the caffeine content of every one.
Oh, that should be exciting.
I mean, it sounds kind of nerdy, but it's
No.
interesting to look down this list, and you'll see things on there that you didn't know had caffeine in. I mean, 8 months ago when I was writing my book, I'm drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper, and I look at the can, and here it's got caffeine in it.
Oh man, I didn't know that about Dr. Pepper.
And I've got 2 or 3 12-packs out on my patio, and then I looked at the next one, which was called Sundrop. I don't know if you've ever heard Sundrop soda.
Yeah, the orange ones.
It's a citrus. It's a citrus soda.
Okay.
That has the most caffeine in it of any 12-ounce canned beverage. That's got more caffeine than Mountain Dew and Coke and Pepsi.
Wow.
And I got 3 12-packs of Diet Sundrop out in my patio as well that are all sitting out there now, just waiting for me to throw them away, I guess. The point is that if you don't know, there's so many things that we don't know, right? And just you look at that list. So what it does, it actually gives you the content of every size cup of coffee at Starbucks, at Dunkin' Donuts, at Tim Hortons, because one of the really unique things about coffee is that back in the day, when it really started with tea back in England. You're drinking these little 6-ounce tea cups, right? Okay, yeah, and then we're drinking 8 ounce. And then the normal size went to 8 ounces. Okay, then it went to 12 ounces. Now it's 16 to 20 ounces.
It's true.
And so when somebody says, I had a cup of coffee, what did you really have? Okay. Did you have a cup of coffee, or did you have like a pint or a quart? And so you don't know. And so you have to pay attention. There's something I learned. My wife got sick 13 years ago. She was chronically ill, and she's still sick. But for 2 years, we saw 17 different doctors. Her word was, she called them ologists. And you know what I'm saying? They were neurologists, rheumatologists, all the ologist guys.
All the ologists.
17 people, 17 doctors. The only one that was really honest with us was our general practitioner, the first woman that we went to.
Yeah.
She looked at the symptoms and she said, I don't know what's wrong with you. And so I can't help you personally, but I can send you to people that will. Well, obviously those people didn't.
Yeah.
And so then we went to these people. One guy told her that it was all in her head, that she should go see a psychiatrist. Another neurologist said that she should just go on heavy narcotics the rest of her life. She's 50 years old. Right. You can't. I looked at her. I said, that's not a good long-term plan.
Oh.
Okay? And so what happened then is she was almost dead. And our daughter, who had just started a natural health practice, came over to our house. She said, I'm going to test Brenda. She does energy work. It's called muscle testing. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it goes heavily into Eastern medicine. But now there's a lot of, like some of the big clinics, even Mayo and Cleveland Clinic, have what they call integrative clinics, where they are getting some of this muscle testing energy work in. Ooh. So our daughter walks into our house, and 15 minutes later, she said, you have Lyme disease from the waist down. 2 years undiagnosed, so a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And that was confirmed by our daughter's mentor 4 days later with no prompting.
Wow.
So the moral of the story is that no one is going to take care of you other than yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't advocate for your own health and you allow doctors to make decisions, and this is not a rip fest on doctors,
Yeah.
but
No.
they have, most doctors, well, they don't deal well with autoimmune at all.
No.
Okay, because you can't give them drugs and you can't cut, right? It's a lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
And we changed
I like what you're saying.
we changed our lifestyle completely.
Yeah.
And, organic, non-GMO food, she became celiac, so no gluten. She became grain intolerant, so she can't eat any grains.
Wow.
Now, this is not necessarily bad once you adapt. Those first 2 years were a challenge.
Yeah.
Because you realize even to this day, I make all the food from scratch, all the meals. Okay, we don't buy it. She can't eat any processed food. So what does this all have to do with caffeine? Well, I'm setting you up for that. How's that? Because what people don't realize is that caffeine affects us in ways that no one knows and nobody talks about. And that's that's the interesting part of what I do, is that very few people know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
When my book came out about 4 months ago, and I handed out some copies to my friends and family, the first thing they said to many of them, not all of them, but first thing many of them said to me is, "You aren't taking my coffee away from me." It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's not the goal of this.
Right. And all I want you to do is know what it's doing to you.
Right.
And then you decide, do you want to keep that relationship or not?
Yeah.
So it's funny because that goes back that cognitive dissonance. That's the salmon against the tsunami. When you're battling your own friends and family, the world, it gets a lot bigger, right?
Yeah, it does, and darker.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have supporters. Don't misunderstand. My wife is incredibly supportive of me. But at the end of the day, why do I talk about this? And my mission is to give people knowledge about things that are happening in their bodies if they drink caffeine that they're not aware of. And there's a lot. Okay? And so we have you have like 4 or 5 hours. No,
I mean,
you realize I'm teasing. I've got this down. I can get this down into pretty, because there's high points and then there's little points. We won't get into the little points. We'll get into the big ones. Okay. So the first one is sleep is the foundation to our health. Okay.
Yes.
Your health, my health, because so many things happen when we sleep. We heal and we dream and we repair muscles and we get that deep sleep that's restorative. So when you wake up in the morning, you have energy.
Yes.
Now, if you're a chronic caffeine user, and when I say chronic, I don't mean, this isn't just anything over 2 cups of coffee is chronic.
Okay.
Because that's
like
300 milligrams.
Daily or general?
Daily.
Like,
if you don't drink coffee, if you don't do caffeine every day, you probably are okay. It's because it's your body, but it also depends on how much. If you go 2 days without drinking any and then drink 3 energy drinks, well,
that makes sense.
It's going to mess up, because where this all leads to is your circadian rhythm, and that's your natural sleep cycle. So naturally, let's take myself. I'm just going to use myself as an example. I don't drink caffeine. I sleep well. And when I was drinking caffeine, I wasn't sleeping well. And I woke up tired. And what did I do?
Drink more caffeine.
Absolutely. You're a great participant. You're a great audience here, because it is the right answer. And nobody wants to admit that. Yeah, that's right. You got to get that buzz, because it is a buzz. It definitely, the more you drink, the more you need. Okay. So
the first time I drank caffeine, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I was literally doing cartwheels down the sidewalk in Southside where I live. I'm like, this is so much fun.
Yep. And what you're doing is you're stealing your tomorrow's energy for today
Yeah.
because you're going to pay for this. And generally where you pay for it is in your sleep.
Yes.
Because so when I wake up, my cortisol, that's a stress hormone, is naturally produced in our bodies. That is high in everybody because that's what gets you going throughout the day. As your day goes on, your cortisol goes down, and then your melatonin and your adenosine goes up.
Okay.
This is what puts you to sleep. So your natural circadian rhythm is cortisol in the morning, that goes down, melatonin and adenosine at night, that puts you to sleep at night. I go to sleep generally around 10 o'clock, and I wake up between 5:30 and 6. All natural. I rarely need, even when I have an appointment in the morning, I generally will wake up at that time, even though sometimes you get nervous when you have an appointment. Right. But and I go to sleep so fast that my wife gets pretty irritated with me because that's not natural. Okay. I mean,
I
oh yeah,
feel like we're on the same page with this.
right. I sometimes go to sleep in 30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. My boyfriend gets a little irritated sometimes because
Right.
I hit the pillow I'm out.
Right. Yeah. So if I want to accomplish anything, I do it before I lay my head down on the pillow because I'm done. And when you are drinking caffeine, that can still happen. However, the quality of your sleep is not good. And that's the key, is that people say, well, it doesn't affect me. Caffeine doesn't affect me. Well, if you wake up tired, it's affecting you. Because what it does, the biggest phases that the stages are stage 3 and stage 4. Because when your circadian rhythm is disrupted, your stage 3 and stage 4 are not only delayed, but they're shortened. And stage 3 is where we heal. And that's where men produce testosterone. And this is important for men, okay? Because if you really want to be a good man with a good libido and good strength, because it's muscles and everything and sex, okay? I mean, we're going to talk about some sex stuff here, okay? Not porn, okay? Don't misunderstand me. Right, yeah. No, you should really pay attention to this, even if you're not 18, because what happens is that when a man's libido goes, you start to not want to have sex. You have less babies, and it fractures their sperm. It makes it not as mobile, and ultimately, it's harder to conceive a baby because in the same breath, women heal at night as well, and caffeine will affect a woman's blood flow to the uterus, is where the egg is, and then what happens is that with less blood flow, it's not as receptive to a sperm. So if you know somebody that's trying to conceive and both people are drinking caffeine, that could be a factor. Now, when I talk about this stuff, obviously everything that I say is not the rule. It's generally the exception. But if you're the person that's trying to conceive, maybe, and you're struggling, maybe you could quit caffeine.
Yeah.
And just try it. Because what's the worst thing that can happen? One, you feel better. Okay. Number 2, you get a baby, which is what you wanted. Right? I mean, there's some win-win stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens then when you're not? So when I wake up, my cortisol goes up. The first thing I do is I drink lemon water.
Okay.
Sometimes with a little salt in. I put all kinds of stuff in there. Good stuff for me. Humic and fulvic acid, apple cider vinegar. I put a little stevia in there because the apple cider vinegar all this stuff is good for me. This is how I start my day. I rehydrate myself.
Might have to caffeine off you.
Yep. Caffeine is a diuretic. So what happens if you drink caffeine first thing in the morning? You are already dehydrated.
Yeah.
And now you're going to start to pee, and it's not just water. It's magnesium and it's calcium. So I'll give you a piece of advice. It's not medical advice. It's just from a friend to a friend. How's that? If you decide to continue to drink caffeine, and that's okay, that's your life. because we all have free will and free won't. I don't control what you eat or drink, and you don't control what I do. So if you decide that you're going to, what I would ask you to do is, first thing when you wake up in the morning, as much as you want that caffeine and that coffee, drink a big 20-ounce glass of lemon water, and then wait 60 to 90 minutes and then have your caffeine, because now your natural cortisol release is going, it's going to happen naturally, right?
Okay, that makes sense. So like it's like filtering out your liver, and
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Because a number of things happen when we all drink caffeine. And the first thing is that our adenosine receptors are plugged. The caffeine molecule, and I want to, there's a myth that some forms of caffeine are not as bad. They're all bad, okay? Because it's a molecule.
Caffeine. I don't understand.
Right? It's all a molecule, right? It's how much you drink of it sometimes is definitely significant, right? So if you're drinking less than 100 milligrams a day, your body probably is filtering that, and you're okay, and it's not going to, and it may not even disrupt your circadian rhythm. But once you go past that first cup, now realize when your adenosine receptors are plugged, you're not going to be tired. It's called tired, but it's wired but tired. And you get this, just like when you were doing your cartwheels, you felt wonderful, right?
Yeah.
So because you've got energy, because you're not, your brain is saying it's not time to sleep or rest,
Right.
because this is what puts you to sleep at night. Second thing that happens is the caffeine hits your adrenal glands. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. First thing is that it releases adrenaline.
Okay.
And adrenaline is a wonderful thing when it's necessary. And that's part of your sympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
And it's fight or flight. And adrenaline and fight or flight, when you need it, is a big deal, right?
Yes.
Because adrenaline makes your heart go faster.
Yeah.
It raises your blood pressure. Now realize I had this, my heart palpitations. This is what it was doing to me, right? And then the third thing that it does is that it pumps glucose into your muscles, because your body is preparing to fight something or to run away.
Okay.
Right? Fight or flight.
Yeah.
Now, if you're at your desk, or if you're at your kitchen counter, cubicle, anywhere that you're not doing something physical, you have all this glucose in your muscles, and what happens is your blood sugar spikes.
Okay.
Because
you're not doing anything.
You're not using it. You're not right. You have this extra glucose. So then what does your pancreas do? Your pancreas naturally says to your body, whoa, we've got danger. I got to put some insulin in there to bring your blood sugar down. This is a vicious cycle.
Okay.
So if you know anybody that has blood sugar issues and they're drinking chronically caffeine, this could be a reason why they're up and down and up and down.
Okay.
Because you're spiking, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
Second thing that happens when you drink caffeine in your adrenal glands is it releases more cortisol. Now remember, we already talked about cortisol, but now you've got more cortisol.
Yeah.
And cortisol is a stress hormone.
Yeah, it's a no-no.
Right. And so now all of a sudden you're adding more stress into your life. Every time you drink caffeine or eat it. And so what happens? You become, when you get that initial buzz, you're good, okay? At least for a little while. But boy, when you come down, and that leads up to the third thing, and that's dopamine. And dopamine is wonderful, because dopamine is your natural feel-good hormone. And caffeine, just thinking about coffee can give you a dopamine hit. I feel good right now just talking to you about this. I realize I've been addicted to this. So when I talk about it, I get a dopamine high.
Yeah.
Now, if you know anybody that is euphoric 1 minute, and then a half an hour later is all nervous and crabby, this could be the caffeine.
Yeah.
Because it's a vicious cycle, and very few people understand that this is why this is happening to them. So what do? And you gave me the answer before, and you know the answer.
Coffee.
Right. Boy, you are the best podcaster I've ever met. Because you've got the answers. So what's always the answer is to drink more. And then your circadian rhythm is messed up. And because what happens at night is you go into parasympathetic mode. That's called rest and digest.
Rest and digest.
Because when you're in sympathetic mode with that adrenaline going, your body actually slows down your digestive process and or stops it, because you need all your energy to fight or flight. Remember?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you're having digestive issues, maybe you know somebody that has digestive issues, acid reflux, whatever, it could be the caffeine, right?
It could be the caffeine.
We're getting quite a list here, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that should be the title for this podcast. It could be the caffeine.
That is great. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and there's some significant differences between men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And men, while men aren't supposed to talk about their emotions, they still have emotions just like everybody else.
Yes, you
and
guys do.
They are going to get the highs and the lows, right? But they don't talk about it because they're not supposed to. Now, women naturally are affected more by caffeine because there's a lot more hormones going on. Okay.
Makes sense.
It's just, that's not a sexist thing. That's reality. Okay. And women are basically more emotional creatures than men.
Yes.
And so when you have these lows, you get lower. Okay.
Yeah.
The highs, you might get a little more higher. I mean, you might be a little manic, right?
Yeah.
Remember we talked about that euphoria.
Yes.
When you get that, you get the adrenaline, you get the cortisol, you get the adenosine, you get the yep, there you go. That's right. Right. And dopamine, dopamine is like a very, very mild version of heroin or meth or whatever. But it's natural. So it's not bad for you, but it's real. So for women, what happens when women drink caffeine? Well, you have these different emotional things. And it's really interesting. Again, I learned all this. Is that in different parts of the menstrual cycle, women process caffeine differently. So in the luteal phase, which is from 14 to 28 days before your period, you actually process caffeine 70% slower because of all the estrogen that's in your body.
Yeah.
And what that does is that causes the half-life of caffeine to go from normally 5 to 8 hours to probably 8 to 12 hours or more.
Yeah.
Now realize that if you just drink a cup of coffee at noon, a normal cup, 150 milligrams.
Yeah.
At 10 o'clock at night, you probably still have 75 milligrams actively in your system at that time of your cycle.
That's crazy.
Now, this is and what's another area there is birth control pills.
Yeah.
If you're on birth control pills, you process caffeine 70% slower all the time.
All the time.
Because it messes with your estrogen.
Yeah.
And so you basically are going to, if you're drinking caffeine more than once or twice a day, you are going to be permanently have caffeine in your system, which what happens? Your sleep cycle, it stinks, right?
Yeah.
So there's one thing that I always like to talk about and stress, because I talked briefly about free will and free won't. Because as adults, as your listeners are talking to me, they can take this information and they can decide for themselves. But there's one person that can't. That's this person right here.
Aww.
This is a fetus.
Aww.
And the fetus is completely dependent on mom. That's how the fetus grows. Caffeine crosses the placental barrier and the blood-brain barrier. So when mom's drinking caffeine, and in particularly regularly, the caffeine never leaves the fetus because there's an enzyme that you and I have.
Okay.
It's called the CYP1A2. It's in our livers, and it processes 95% of the caffeine that we drink.
Okay.
And if you're healthy and you're normal, if you drink, again, if you're healthy and normal, if you drink a cup of coffee at noon, and that's the only one you have, by the time you go to bed, it's a half-life and another half-life. So there's only a quarter of the caffeine. So it's minimized, okay?
Okay.
Now, the fetus does not develop that enzyme until it's 3 to 6 months old.
That's
so
terrible.
it doesn't process caffeine at all.
Okay.
So when the caffeine goes into the fetus, first thing that happens is it plugs the adenosine receptors, just like you and I. However, it doesn't open them up. It doesn't open up because it's always in there. Now, the fetus isn't sleeping, but the adenosine receptors are crucial for mental and physical development of the fetus as it grows inside of mom. And so there's a number of studies that I've looked at that show that if a pregnant woman drinks caffeine regularly on any level, they've got these guidelines. Bottom line is, if the baby's adenosine receptors are plugged all the time, the development it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's only 100 milligrams a day, if it's going to hurt the development. So what these studies have shown, that doing this, drinking caffeine while pregnant, can lead to, and that's the key word, because it doesn't happen every time. It may only happen 1 out of 100.
Right.
But if you're that 1 out of 100, this is a big deal, because this is what it can lead to. It can lead to low birth weight. It can lead to miscarriage. It can lead to stillbirth. It can lead to ADD, ADHD, and other developmental issues. Now, I'm going to bring this up because it's important. I have 2 miscarriages and a stillbirth in my immediate family that I know of, right? I mean, everybody, I know there's times that there are miscarriages and the woman doesn't even realize that she had a miscarriage. Well, I have 2 grandchildren that are not here because my daughter and my granddaughter, or my daughter-in-law, both had miscarriages. So I know that I have 2 less grandchildren today. Now, I'm not saying it's because of the caffeine, so don't misunderstand me. My niece had a stillbirth daughter, and she was 7 months old in the womb, and they had an open casket.
Oh, no.
For a 7-month-old fetus. And if that doesn't rip your heart out, you don't have a heart. And I'm bringing this up for a very specific reason, is that if you and I can get one woman to stop drinking caffeine while she's pregnant and she has a healthy baby, we may have saved a life.
Yes.
You realize how powerful that is?
That's extremely powerful. Like, I got chills.
It is. Yeah, and I'm glad, and I hope your listeners got chills too, because there's nothing more powerful than being able to save a life. And just think of how easy this is.
Yeah.
All you have to do is stop drinking caffeine for 9 months.
Yes.
Now, let's say someone's listening and they are pregnant right now, and they say, okay, I'm going to do this. It takes 100 hours for the caffeine to be cleared from the fetus naturally through blood flow. Because remember, its liver doesn't have this enzyme, so it can't process like you and I as adults.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Sorry, quick question. So with the mother being pregnant and stuff, does the caffeine still get transferred through breast milk, or does that not work?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
Not as much as through the placenta.
Okay.
But through the breast milk, it does.
Okay.
Now, here's a scenario that nobody thinks about. I have 2 kids. I have 4 kids altogether. 2 with my first wife, and then 2 stepsons.
We just threw them out.
Yeah, but we've been together for 36 years, so I just call them all my kids, right?
Yeah.
So, but I watched my 2 kids get delivered.
Yeah.
And when a baby is delivered, and you know this, is that when a mom comes in and she's on drugs, the doctors know this, and what they do is that when the baby's born, they take the baby through detox and withdrawal. That's it, or the baby possibly could die.
Yeah.
Because of that withdrawal, you take that drug away, and your body rebels. Now, just think, the adenosine receptors of a baby have been plugged for 9 months, and then it's born. And I didn't really talk about this, but the reason when you quit caffeine, when you get these massive headaches, is that your adenosine receptors open up, and the blood flows very strongly into the front part of your brain. And there's only one way to get rid of adenosine headache.
What's that?
More caffeine. You can take all the painkillers in the world. You can take ibuprofen, Tylenol, Vicodin, doesn't matter, because the adenosine receptors are open. So now just think that 12 hours after baby's born, these adenosine receptors open up. Just think of this. And then the baby starts screaming bloody murder. Yeah. And what does the doctor and the nurse say? This is normal. They've never asked mom if she's on caffeine. Okay. Now, you did ask a very valid question, and that is that there is a small amount of caffeine in breast milk. And so if mom would immediately start to breastfeed, maybe that withdrawal won't be as bad. But they say it's colicky, it's normal. It's not normal. Okay. Yeah. Normal babies don't just cry for hours and hours and hours.
Right.
Okay? There's some reason. Okay. And I don't have all the answers. But I do know that one of them could be
yeah.
So I would ask, anybody that knows anybody that's pregnant, or even just trying to conceive, caffeine could play a big role in a lot of these things.
Right.
And there's a reason why nobody talks about this, is because it's $1 trillion a year business. And so many people do it. Part of my background is I'm a self-sabotage coach. And self-sabotage is when you undermine your own morals and values. And being part of the herd, which is what everybody's doing, this is good. And when you leave the herd, because most of those people are self-sabotaging themselves in one way or another.
Right.
I talk about caffeine. It could be alcohol, it could be nicotine, could be drugs, could be prescription drugs, could be overeating, could be lack of sleep. I mean, we self-sabotage ourselves in a number of ways.
Yes.
And we can't get into that because there's way too many. and I picked caffeine because I felt that I had a huge audience, and I do. I have a huge audience of people that don't want to hear what I have to say. Well, I think that's called a masochist. I'm not sure.
Let them drink caffeine.
Yep. I'm an optimist, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm an optimist because I believe that I can present my information in a way that people can relate to. Because I'm not condemning you, I'm not shaming you, I'm not guilting anybody.
No.
I did it. I did it for 36 years, 30 years, and then 6 years.
Yeah.
The second time I quit, I told you about the episode in the emergency room. Well, I quit for 2 or 3 years. And then, like every good addict, I said, I can have just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
A little bit. And you know exactly what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
And anybody that's ever been addicted to anything knows that. So what happens? I went back on every day. So my sleep's messed up, so I have to have coffee in the morning.
Right.
And then 2 years ago, give or take, I just decided my sleep was bad. I just wasn't right. I just wasn't feeling right.
Yeah.
And I started to get some of those palpitations back. And that's scary when you have these and you don't know why. So I quit cold turkey, which I don't recommend because it is brutal. Okay.
I can imagine.
I lost 3 days of my life. I have adenosine headache. I had brain fog. I had fatigue. And so my recommendation, I talk about it in my book, I talk about it in the coaching program, is to taper. And the best way to do that is to have a plan. Okay. And if you're going to quit anything, you have to have a plan. And then you have to say to yourself, I am not going to try to quit caffeine. I am going to quit.
Yeah.
Because, I've done a number of podcasts with recovery people, recovered alcoholics, recovered drug addicts. And when I talk about this, they kind of just laugh. When I was in the restaurant business for 23 years.
Yes.
Okay. And we had a bar and a restaurant. And just by the nature of the business, many of the people that worked for us smoked and drank alcohol. Okay. and they would want to quit smoking.
Right.
And they would come up to me and they would say, I'm going to quit. I'm going to try to quit smoking tomorrow. I want you to be aware because I'm probably going to be crabby. Which is just what you want to hear in the restaurant business. And this is a waitress or a bartender, and they're taking care of your customers, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I want this to happen. But then when they would say that, I would just kind of chuckle at them.
Yeah.
And I would say, just don't waste your time.
Right.
I said, because I already know, not because I'm the smartest guy or the wisest guy in the world, but through experience and wisdom, if you're going to try to quit, you are going to fail.
Yes.
And in the meantime, you're going to be miserable. You're going to make me miserable because you're going to be crabby. So it's the same thing with caffeine. So the first thing you do is you decide, if you actually are going to quit, you quit at your pace, because once you've done it, you're free. Okay. And you are going to have your life's going to change dramatically because you're going to sleep so good. The first chapter of my book is called Anecdotal Stories. And as you know, stories are the best way to tell anything, right?
Yeah.
So I originally had put this as the last chapter of the book because I thought it was kind of entertaining. And as I put them together, because they're all stories of people that quit caffeine, their personal journey. And as I put it together, I'm thinking, this is perhaps the most important chapter in the book.
Yeah.
Because anybody that reads it will find themselves in there.
Right. Yeah, they can resonate
20
with it.
for 20. Right. I could have put hundreds in there, but I didn't do a book just for anecdotal stories, right? But so the 20 people that are in there all came to the same conclusion. They now slept so much better. Sometimes they hadn't slept this well in decades.
Wow.
And when they wake up in the morning, and there's one particular guy, his name's Vince Del Monte. He's an influencer and he's a multimillionaire guy on YouTube. And I first found him on YouTube because he did a testimonial about quitting caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 11 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes long. And I would suggest anybody to go watch it, because if you go to YouTube and I quit caffeine, he comes up on the first page. And what he did is that he was drinking so much caffeine that he couldn't make a decision without having a shot or two of espresso.
Oh no.
Realized he needed that hit. He needed espresso to go to church. He needed espresso to make business decisions. And what happened is that it started to destroy his personal and professional life.
I bet.
So, because his wife and kids were not happy, his business was going down. So he quit, and he quit cold turkey, which was brutal, because this guy's doing 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams probably a day, possibly more. Now, this is big. This can be lethal. I mean, obviously he built up a tolerance,
Right, but
because
still.
and he actually had his own workout drink, pre-workout, which has just massive caffeine, right? And he's selling it, and he said, "Here I am. I'm selling this to people, and now I'm telling you not to do it."
Yeah, right.
But when he quit, and he did this testimonial like 6 or 9 months after he quit, and it was very heartfelt. And one of the things that he said was, now I sleep like I haven't in decades, but he
Right.
said, when I wake up in the morning, I feel like I have a double or triple shot of espresso because guess what? His body is doing exactly what it's supposed to
That's awesome.
because our bodies are beautifully and wonderfully made.
Yes.
And we choose to do everything we can to mess them up,
Yes, we
right?
do.
That's self-sabotage,
Yes.
right? We do this. I mean, I do it. I eat snacks. I mean, my biggest self-sabotage technique is I'm an overindulger, right? So when I start to eat, I stop. I can't stop.
Yeah.
Okay? And I love to snack.
Yes.
Now, I have some good snacks. I have some healthy snacks. And then I have some not healthy snacks,
Right.
okay? But I stayed off the caffeine, and I'm in some quitting caffeine groups on Facebook, and sometimes it's very encouraging and sometimes it's very depressing to listen to their stories because there's people there that have been there 12 months to 18 months and they are still being challenged with withdrawals because because we all are different. We all process differently because of our genes, because of our enzymes, because of our health. You know, what else are we doing to make our bodies healthy?
Right.
You know, if we have healthy livers, it can process the caffeine better. If our livers are already not healthy, it's not going to be as easy.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Just this quote popped into my mind. I don't remember exactly where I got it from. It might have been one of the times that I was in rehab, but people used to say, "There's no such thing as trying. There's just doing," and that always stuck with me. And you talking about like people going through the trials and tribulations that like popped in my mind, and I just wanted to say that real quick.
no, that's a great. I'm going to use that if you don't mind,
Yeah.
because that's a great phrase, and I had not heard that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like the word "I can't."
I hate it.
I can't. You know what that really means?
You won't.
That really means I don't want to
Yeah.
or I won't.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I can't because let's face it, we both know that we can do almost anything if we set our minds to it.
Right.
Right? You've had challenges. I've had challenges. You know, I'm 68 years old. I've had some tough times in my life.
Yes.
Okay. Generally speaking, it's always made me stronger.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
sometimes it kicks you when you're down.
Unfortunately.
Those aren't the fun times, but
No.
you know, you get back up and you shake yourself up. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times did you get back up.
Right. You want to fall forward, not backwards.
Yes, correct. There you go. So at the end of the day, I'm here to spread a message of hope and love. Because if you have somebody that you love that's being affected negatively by caffeine, and now you know some of the symptoms, these are just some of them, but those are the big ones. You know, you got heart palpitations, you got blood pressure, you've got blood sugar, you've got conception, you've got the fetus, you've got the euphoria, right, up and down, the mood swings, being anxious. I mean, and crabby. When you come off, when a chronic caffeine user comes down, they get crabby.
They can be a-holes. Like, oh man.
Yeah. And you did, that was the PG version of what they become, right? Because you are absolutely right. It's unbearable. It is. It's unbearable. And so I'm here. My message is of hope. You know, maybe you can help somebody. Maybe you can help a friend or a loved one, right? I'm not against anything because let's face it, caffeine is in our culture and it's not leaving.
No.
And I know that. I absolutely, and I accept it. And I know that people that drink caffeine sleep, and I know that people that drink caffeine still have babies and healthy babies most of the time. However, what if you did things and you felt better? Just think of that.
Right.
You know how hard it is to be healthy?
I mean, I have a very, very minute general grasp, I feel like.
Yep. Now, if you talk to the average person anywhere, they don't know what it's really like to be healthy.
Yeah.
I do. I do. I'm blessed. I'm on no medications. You know, at my age, I'm starting to feel some things I didn't feel 20 years ago. However, I can still play with my grandkids. I can do a lot of things. Most people my age are on 5 to 10 to 15 medications.
Yeah.
Why? Because the doctor told them, not
Yeah.
because their body told them. The doctor said, well, you got to do this.
Right.
You got to do that.
Right.
So as I move forward here, and I ask you, do you know somebody? I'm going to leave this message, and that is perhaps that someone is you.
It could be the caffeine.
That's right. It could be the caffeine. So if you ever have any questions about caffeine or my programs or anything, go to my website. It's called releasethecoffeecuffs.com. And there's a contact page. You can send me emails. I will respond to them.
Personally, not AI.
No, that's not AI. No, I will personally respond to them. Right. Because you can do that now,
Yeah.
which is just, it's kind of scary, isn't it?
It is.
Because you think that somebody's actually cares about you and they don't really.
No,
And
it's
they're
just a
using
funded
AI.
response.
No, my wife is an online college professor.
Okay.
And so she has a colleague that has and he's an AI guru kind of guy. I mean, he's a sharp guy. He's got his email set up that 90% of his emails that he gets are responded to by AI.
Wow.
He doesn't even respond to them. He's got it set up that he's got the prompts, and it will give them then the appropriate response.
That's crazy.
So,
like, what if the student's like really in need or something, and like you're the only teacher they trust? Like,
right. Exactly. Yep. So it's not cracked up to be what it's made out to be. It's here. It's just like caffeine. AI is here, right? So I promise you that I will respond, and we can talk about anything you want, but mostly about if you want to quit, how to go about doing it.
Right.
And you have in the show notes you're going to have, or in the bio, there's tools in there that you're going to get for free that are very useful in determining if you have a problem, and if you do, how to address it. Because quitting caffeine is what many people think it's mostly physical, but it's mostly psychological and social.
Yeah.
Because what do you do when you've gone into the break room every day for the last 20 years and had coffee with your buddies?
Right.
And now you're going to have decaf. You're the outcast. You're the black sheep. Right?
So we're a little adjusting to get a little bit of adjustment.
Yes, yeah. Right. It's like walking into a bar that you walked into for 20 years and you've had a shot in a beer or just a beer or whatever, and you walk in and you have a NA beer or you have a tonic water.
Right.
People will look at you and say, why aren't you drinking?
Yeah, people do that to me all the time, because I've never been a big drinker, but anytime I go to the bar or anything, I always get a lemonade. That's like my signature drink, and I always get looks all the time. It's just like, you guys are the weirdos, not me.
Yep, that's right. Now, I think society is looking a little differently at alcohol. I think there's more people that are realizing that it really is poison. Right. I occasionally have a drink. Okay. Right. I back in the day, I drank a lot more. Well, when I was in the restaurant business, I drank caffeine all day. And what do you think I did to go to sleep at night?
Melatonin?
I had a shot of tequila and a beer. Because you have to bring that flight or flight down. That's so true. What I would do is I would take a depressant, which was what alcohol is. Yeah. So it's a vicious cycle. And so I've done a lot of things. Obviously, why am I healthy as I am? I quit caffeine. I drink very little. I quit smoking 40 years ago.
Wow.
And I still would like to have a cigarette.
Yeah, I might need some advice on that one.
Yeah. It's not easy.
No.
When somebody is smoking, if I go somewhere, you can't go anywhere hardly ever where there's somebody smoking. But
right.
if that happens, I will actually walk through the cigarette smoke because I get a significant dopamine hit. just from the smoke, the secondhand smoke. Well,
And
just
those
think about that. That's how deep that was ingrained in my subconscious.
Yeah.
So now for all you guys that are drinking caffeine, you can reprogram your mind. We have a hypnotherapy that it's 25 minutes long in our program that you can listen to every night before you go to bed. And you can actually reprogram your mind that says, I don't need caffeine anymore to survive. I've got the same thing for smoking. If you want it, I can look for it and I can get it to you.
Okay.
Because what it does is that, and then you do that along with affirmations.
Yes.
I have affirmations on my bathroom mirror.
Mhm.
I have 3 pages of them, and I go through them in the morning and at night.
That's beautiful.
What it does is it helps you to reprogram your subconscious, because our subconscious controls 95 to 98% of what we do every day.
Yes.
And so if you are getting up every morning and having a cup of coffee, and as kids you've watched your mom and dad do that, what do you think? You think, well, that's right. And that's the key to success. That's the key to happiness. That's the key to adulting, right?
Yeah.
Mom's got her cup in her hand and it says, don't talk to me before I drink this.
It's so crazy to say that. Like growing up, I didn't have caffeine for the first time until I was about 20, 21 years old. But I just remember being in like high school, middle school, when we were talking about like how we wanted to be when we would grow up and stuff like that. My dream was to force myself to like coffee so that I could walk to a coffee shop every morning as a psychologist and live in a shitty 1-bedroom apartment in New York. But like that was the main key. Like I needed to make sure I drank coffee.
Yep. It's part of it, it's so part of it's ingrained in our society.
Yeah.
And that's one of the challenges that I have talking about this. But I think it comes down to that. Can I save a life? Can I help someone feel better?
Right.
Just by giving them information. And then they can decide for themselves if they want to make a difference. I have one of my best friends is the same age as me. And up until 6 months ago, he was on no medication. And then he went to the doctor. The doctor said, your blood pressure is getting a little high, so we need to put you on medication.
Yeah.
So he went on a medication. He had very, very bad adverse effects. Okay. So he calls the doctor. Doctor said, okay, we'll try something else. So he takes them off that, puts him on 2 other ones. Now it's only half as bad. And he still is not happy. He's still miserable. Okay.
Yeah. Don't you just love being a guinea pig?
Right. So I'm talking to him and I said, you do realize that I can get your blood pressure down with you naturally.
Yeah.
Because this is what he does. When he wakes up in the morning, first thing he does is he has coffee. Then he has a Coke. And then he has probably half a pack of cigarettes throughout the day, maybe more. Then in the afternoon, he often has a Red Bull. Okay, so his blood pressure is just messed up because every time he does that, his blood pressure goes up. And if you're on this all the time, it just stays up. And I said, we can fix this naturally. Because he knew where I was going with this. And he looked at me, and we're still friends. We're still friends, okay? He said, I like my life just the way it is. I will take the side effects from that pill over giving up something that's causing it.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, at least you provided him with the knowledge.
That's right. And he was honest with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known him for 40 years and he has smoked for the whole time. And I never ragged on him about smoking. It's not my place. Right?
But at coffee, that's where I step in.
Yeah, right. That's where I draw the line. Exactly. No, but and he's so, and that's what the apathy on the part of many people in our society is that instead of trying to work towards health, they would rather take a pill.
Yeah.
And there are always side effects.
Right. Yeah, I was getting into this debate with my boyfriend the other day about like taking Tylenol and ibuprofen and stuff like that. My point on the stance was that you should limit yourself and wait until you absolutely kind of have to use it, because you're forcing your body to have to double detox. So not only are you like detoxing from whatever is causing the symptoms that you're having, but now you have to detox again from the ibuprofen or the Tylenol or whatever it is that you put in your body. So yeah, which I don't
That
know which one's worse.
but that is a very interesting. That's a nugget. That's a very interesting nugget of information, because you're absolutely right. And again, I hadn't thought about that. So I'm going to replay this later on, and then I'm going to steal some of your nuggets. Okay.
It's okay. Go for it.
But I really like the do less trying and do more doing. I really like that. Okay.
Yeah.
But
I'll send you the video link and everything so you can have it all.
okay. So I guess, do you have any last questions you have?
Oh, no, I don't have any last questions or anything. Yeah, it's been wonderful having you. And for all you listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will be back again shortly. Bye.
Excellent. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
It must be the coffee making me insane.